you've been tasked to help build code around a car. In fact, specifically, you've been asked to do the gearbox, okay? At the time, you haven't really been given enough requirements about what the gearbox needs, right? How to define what the gearbox is. This happens all the time when you're given a task and you start asking questions and they're like, oh, we're not too sure yet, whatever. So let's say, for example, you don't know that it's a manual or an automatic, nor do you know how many gears are required. You just know that you need to create a gearbox class to handle these kind of things. So you go away and you create your gearbox class, and you're very happy with it, and you think of all the possible scenarios and everything. It's all good. You then later on get a call, perhaps closer to the deadline than you would perhaps like, giving you a little bit more information about what this gearbox class requires. And in fact, it's a manual gearbox. It requires a reverse gear, and that's like gear 5 or something. And you're okay, fine, I can fit all that in. I've kind of thought about these kind of things, so that's good. So you start plugging that in, and it works, and it's happy, and you're happy with it. However, because of the timeline, because of the deadline looming, you haven't been able to have a lot of time to refactor the code, to actually really narrow down the definition of the code. Your class is literally just called gearbox. So looking at that class, you wouldn't be able to tell whether it's an automatic or whether it is a manual gearbox, or how many gears there are and how to get into reverse and all of that kind of stuff. But you know that it works because you ran some tests and all of that kind of stuff, and it goes live. And there you go. They start selling these cars. There's thousands on the road. Everybody's happy, making lots of money. It's all good. It's all good. The boss man, the big cheese, gets this radical idea that, in fact, what they want to do now is start making automatic cars. And he thinks, or she thinks, that what they can do is just clone the car that they've got, and they can just take, all the code that was written for this manual car and just plonk it on this automatic car, and everything's happy and fun. And yes, you'll have to do some tweaks here and there, but the code is pretty much already written. At this point, you should be freaking out. You should be like, oh no, because the definition of this car is totally different. Perhaps you don't even mention a thing, right? And you just know that you have a lot of work to do in a very short period of time, and that time has been squished because the owner thinks that all the code is reusable. And so what you do is you just take your gearbox class and you push a lot of code into that. You squeeze, you compact, that handles automatic gearboxes, and you kind of thread that through and wind that into the current code. And because you've gone and done that, you can't call that gearbox class a manual gearbox class, nor can you call it an automatic gearbox class, because it is in fact a God class, because anything that class doesn't know about gearboxes is not worth knowing, because that class just handles any type of gearbox class. Now that you might think is probably the quickest way of doing it, because you're reusing the code that you've already written in the previous car, right? That's a good thing. Dry, don't repeat yourself, and that gets released. So now you've got manual cars out, you've got automatic cars out, and everybody's a winner, right? And the owner is feeling amazing because he's just getting, or she's getting lots and lots of money, because now they've got a whole new branch of cars that are available. Then they get a phone call and something is wrong with the reverse gear on the manual, right? And this could even require a recall. Now, what are you going to recall? Are you going to recall the automatic cars, or are you going to recall the manual cars? The boss woman wants to recall just the manual cars, narrow down the risk. However, you've gone and shared that risk with the manual cars.